of 99 presents, just 600 gifts an hour, or 14,000 gifts for every 24 hours that you do that. We got a new mutation shard, way better than Nightmare, 4 new Christmas related mechanics, a ton of new pets, a new seed that is the best seed in the game, along with 5 new openable presents, and I'll be showing you the best way to farm this event for hundreds of them. So if you enjoy this video, find it useful, just want to stay updated on all the best leaks, tips, tricks, methods for Grow Garden, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. In my opinion, this is one of the best updates we have had probably since I could even remember. So you need to get on this event as fast as possible. It's super fun, and I'm going to be going over exactly everything that was added, exactly every mechanic, and exactly what you should be doing to make the most out of this event. So sit back, relax, and let's get straight into the video. Okay, so first off, let's talk about everything they added, go over every single detail of this update, and then we'll talk about the best way to farm it, and farming it is a little more complicated than you would expect. Now, first off, let's talk about the Christmas harvest section over here. So this is actually very, very simple. All you need to do is donate Christmas mutated plants. So that's anything with like a cold mutation, so chilled, frozen, and even some of the new Christmas mutations that were added as a part of weathers or a part of the new pet abilities. And as you are gifting, you'll have a chance to receive different kinds of presents. The best one obviously being the Santa surprise present with a 15% chance, but each one does have their own interesting items, including a Pet Shard Nocturnal. I'm not exactly sure what that does. And it seems like you get a reward every time you complete this little bar, so you get 200 points of mutated plants. And obviously, the rarer the plants, the more points you're going to get, but I think that is the only thing that does impact the amount of points you are getting. And just like the Safari Harvest event, as you submit points to your own individual rewards, you are submitting to a pool of points, which goes towards community milestones, which unlock different rewards, different buffs for the event, like the event shop cooldown, and the final reward is the ability to buy the new Pet Shard HyperHunger with some other cool rewards along the way. Moving on to the other side, this side is a little more packed. We have the advent calendar, very, very simple, just like a normal advent calendar, but this time you do have to complete 3 missions every single day to actually get the reward. And it looks like you need to complete all 19 days in order to get the new gingerbread blossom seed, which is definitely the new best seed in the game, just barely outbeats the base value of a bone blossom with about the same of the other stats. So it definitely is going to be something you want to get. And as long as you don't want to spend Robux to recover your streak, you're going to want to log in every day, complete the missions, or maybe even skip the quests using trading tokens. Keep in mind, now you can use trading tokens to buy any of the new event items, which is pretty insane. That being said, we also have the new shop here. This is where you can buy a ton of Christmas related items. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of these items are locked behind the community milestones, but it's already been less than an hour into the event and we already have 500,000 points. So I honestly don't think it's going to take too long to unlock the 11 million points that you need for the Pet Shard HyperHunger. Looks like they finally learned how to balance an event on release instead of buffing it 2 days later. So that is very nice. But specifically, I want to talk about the Pet Shard Hunger. This shard is really insane. Now I went ahead and bought 2, once again, using trading tokens because you can spend trading tokens on anything. The Pet Shard Hunger is better than Nightmare. So let's go ahead and pull out my Mimic. Here's a 60 kg Mimic. It currently activates every 3 minutes and 35 seconds. Let's cleanse it and then use a Hyper Hunger Shard. And now it's every 2 minutes. That's like an insane boost compared to Nightmare. But unfortunately, it only does activate when the hunger is below 25%. So you will have to make sure your pet is fed. But honestly, it doesn't go down hunger that much. It's like minus 20 hunger every 10 seconds, which is really not that bad at all. So it's now even easier to create 15-second mimics. In fact, let's take my 70 kg mimic, which normally has a 52-second cooldown, and bam, now I have a permanent 15-second mimic, and I just have to worry about feeding it probably every 3, 4, maybe even 5 hours. That is absolutely insane. And we do also have this big Christmas tree in the middle. It says it gives you a present every like 12 hours. I don't understand what this is going to really be, but it could be the new player present, which you can donate to other players. So that would be really interesting if you just get a new present every few hours and then you can donate it to other players. And I'm not exactly sure what that present does yet, but we'll have to wait and see. Now we do also have a new Christmas themed dig event. So if you have minor goblins, definitely pull those out and get ready to gain a ton of dig tokens. And it's just like every other dig minigame, you dig up the little reward thing, but here are the possible rewards that you can get. Nothing too crazy, honestly. So I would not be focusing on farming that. Now, the last big thing we have in this update is that new Santa surprise present. You can buy the exotic version, or you can easily farm it using the Christmas harvest, which I'll be going over how you can do it. You can get hundreds really, really fast, so it's not too hard. But in this present, we have the rarest pet ever, which is the new Krampus pet, which is a 0.05% chance, which is 1 out of 2,000. But for some reason, it's a guaranteed in 100 exotic surprise presents. So this pet is going to be extremely easy to get for people with a ton of trading tokens or who are pay to win, but it's going to be very hard for players to get get just from the normal surprise present. And honestly, I don't know why they did that, but don't worry, this pet is really horrible. Here's the Krampus ability, and then I'll also flash the other abilities on screen. Nothing really stands out too much ability wise, and that new present seed isn't even that amazing either. Let's go ahead and buy 10 presents and just see if I'm able to get lucky at all. Ooh, a Christmas gorilla, another gorilla. Ooh, I got the mistletoe, 2.5% chance, but honestly, it's not even that amazing. But we can actually get the precise stats now, so let's go ahead and check what its cooldown is. 14 minutes, provokes a nearby plant, events growth by 15 minutes for each. Yeah, this is really not great at all. Honestly, this is really not great. Now, if you manage to hatch the Krampus, you're going to want to sell it as fast as possible, and using the trading hub might take too long, so I'd highly recommend you use Trade Kitsune, an amazing grow garden trading platform with tons of useful tools. Easily post, find, and coordinate trades with other players using their new updated trade system, which has now fully integrated trading tokens. This means you can now easily create trade listings and only ask for tokens in return, and you can easily browse trade listings containing trading tokens, making it significantly easier to buy and sell pets using trading tokens compared to the in-game trading world. Trade Kitsune is truly the only grower garden trading tool you could ever need, with tons of useful other tools. So check it out with the link in the description. Now, the new content doesn't even stop there. They did a full season refresh. We now have a new season with some interesting winter related rewards, including that new Frost Dragon, which is going to be the best pet inside of this pass, but honestly, it's not better than the Hydra in my opinion. In fact, here are the stats of the Rainbow Frost Dragon. As long as you have a ton of frozen mutations, it could be pretty broken for XP, but without the frozen mutations, it might be a little tough to actually take advantage of. But honestly, the more I look at this pet, the more I realize just how broken it could be just to use alongside another pet. And then lastly, we had a few smaller changes, like the seed shop now has another limited time transcendent seed, this time the Peppermint Vine seed, which does have an ability. We're not exactly sure what the Peppermint pet mutation is, but I do like how this ability actually impacts pets. Not too bad at all. I went ahead and bought this Peppermint Vine seed. We're going to go ahead and place down some eggs and see what the Peppermint mutation actually does. There we go. We got a Peppermint Giraffe. Let's place it down and check what the ability does. Every 15 minutes, sacrifices 12 random Christmas type fruit in your garden to instantly activate the ability. Honestly, not that amazing. And then you may have noticed the seed shop UI is a ton bigger, and that's because I went ahead and changed a lot of the UIs in the game to make them more readable and just a lot bigger. So that's a pretty nice addition in my opinion. Now let's talk about how to effectively farm this event for literally hundreds of gifts every day, and even up to thousands a day, depending on how dedicated you are. Now, there's really only two aspects of this event that you want to farm. The first being the Santa Stash, which is a new shop, and the second being the Harvest event. So let's talk about the shop first. This is incredibly simple to farm. Obviously, just make sure you're coming back every time the shop restocks and buying everything that you want that comes in stock. The shop restocks every 45 minutes now, but at its maximum, it should restock every 30 minutes or 15 minutes. I think it's a little bugged. It says it should go down to 45 minutes at 8.2 million, but it's already at 45 minutes at 400K. So I think it's going to go down a little bit more, but you can easily set up an auto clicker on mobile or PC. Auto clickers are incredibly easy to get, and just have yourself spam buying one of the items that you want, especially once the new Santa surprise present comes in stock, or even when the HyperHunger shard comes in stock. Or you could set up a macro to open the shop, cycle through all the items, buy each item, and then close the shop, and then have it AFK that as well, which is probably what I'll be doing. And it's going to be a great source of getting those new gears, the new HyperHunger, and even those new Santa surprise presents. Now, that being said, by far the most lucrative way to farm this event for hundreds and thousands of gifts is the Christmas harvest. Let's break it down and figure out exactly the best way for you to farm it, because depending on what you have, depending on how much time you have, you are going to want to farm it a little bit differently. But first off, for every player, you want to make sure you're using the right plants. The rarity of the plant does affect the points you are getting, but not by an incredible amount. So if I submit a strawberry here, you'll see I get 3 points. But if I go ahead and submit a coconut, I will get 5 points. So honestly, the difference in rarity is not even crazy at all, considering coconuts are divine and strawberries are the worst rarity in the game. You don't really have to worry too much about the rarity of the plants, but you want to make sure you are using a fast growing crop. Personally, I am going to be using coconuts because it is a pretty decent rarity. Those extra 2 points compared to strawberries are going to help in the long run and grow like 20 coconuts per crop, so you don't need too many to really farm a ton. You could use coconuts like me, build a ramp like this, and be fine, but also you could easily go ahead and use a ton of tomatoes or even a ton of strawberries or blueberries. At the very least, use strawberry, blueberries, or tomatoes, but you just want to make sure you have a fast growing crop. And if you really want to increase your efficiency, you can focus on rarity and use coconuts or mangoes or something a little higher rarity. But most importantly, make sure you have a ton of a fast growing multi-harvest crop. And then also, as you are collecting, for all players, you want to make sure you are using a duplication pet. At the very least, use something like stegosauruses, giant ants, or maybe even if you are going to be using coconuts or mangoes, use some Cape buffaloes instead, because those are insanely broken for coconuts and tomatoes. That's really why I'm going to be using coconuts, because I can use a full team of Cape buffaloes and get some insane duplication on those. But if you're using strawberries and blueberries, because of how low rarity they are, using a full team of giant ants or stegosauruses is going to duplicate a ton of strawberries, allowing you to get a lot more bang for your buck when you get the mutations. All right, now that we got the plants out of the way, let's talk about getting mutations. There are 3 ways you can go about doing this. First off, let's talk about the players who don't want to actively play this event too much and don't have amazing pets, or likely don't even have any pets at all. Now, keep in mind, Christmas-related mutations include frozen, chilled, and any of the new mutations from the new weather events or new pets. So I would highly recommend you simply just AFK with a few penguins once you can get your hands on them and farm the weather events for the Christmas-related mutations. The frozen weather is relatively common, but most importantly, you may not know, but there is a snowy weather that happens every 10 minutes or so, which does give these snowy mutations. So you can easily get yourself that snowy mutation on a ton of crops just from AFKing, as well as also AFK with some penguins to get those added Arctic mutations, and just simply farm the mutations from the weather events, specifically the snowy weather. And obviously, when you're collecting your crops, make sure you're using your duplication pets. This is by far going to be the most beginner friendly method, but it's going to be the slowest method out of the 3, although you still can AFK a ton of mutations. And while you're AFKing, you can focus on a different aspect of the event, which is the winter shop. You can just sit here with an auto clicker and AFK buy whatever you want from the shop, and then whenever you come back every few hours, claim all your crops using your duplication pets, submit them, and then get some rewards from Santa as well. Once again, not nearly as lucrative as the next 2 methods, but it's still the best method for newer players who don't have the resources needed for the next 2 methods. Now, the next method is a bit of an extension of the first method. Take advantage of the weather mutations, obviously, maybe even the penguin if you want to, but then also take advantage of something called the Flower Froster Sprinkler. This is going to be only obtainable from the Sprinkler Merchant. So you may already have some if you've been playing the game a little bit, but the merchant doesn't show up very often. But every few hours or so, the merchant will show up where you can buy at least 1 Flower Froster Sprinkler for free. You can buy some more if you want for Robux, but as long as you have a ton of flowers in one area, so I like to use candy corn flowers, but you can use as many multi-harvest flower crops as you have. For example, Serenities and Zen Flares are also another really great option. Roses are a great option, or even horned melons are a great option. And using one of these flower frost sprinklers, for about 3 minutes, it'll make all the flowers nearby frozen, and you can just run back and forth submitting them to Santa for rewards. And each backpack full of flowers that you donate is going to give you quite a bit of presents. So this is kind of an extension of method 1. Taking advantage of the flower sprinkler is going to allow you to farm quite a bit more rewards, especially depending on the amount of flowers you have. If you have like 800 candy corn flowers or 800 flowers in total in a small area, use the sprinkler, you could easily get yourself a ton of presents. Obviously, if you don't already have the sprinkler, it takes a while for only 1 to come in stock. So once again, this is not nearly the fastest method, which is why I'll go over by far the fastest method to farm this event for literally hundreds of gifts every single day. But keep in mind, this last method is not going to be accessible for every single player. But I'm going to show you the most accessible way to do it. Okay, so this last method consists of using T-Rexes. Once you have your crops down on your garden, ideally you have as many crops as you possibly can from the plants that I was talking about earlier. And once you get at least a couple of Christmas mutations, you can then take advantage of the T-Rex to spread different mutations around every certain amount of minutes. Now, the T-Rex at base cooldown is still much faster than using a penguin, and they're not too expensive to buy from the trading plaza, so you can get a full team of 8 T-Rexes, AFK for a little bit, and spread a ton of mutations around. That's going to be pretty fast. But where this method really ramps up is when you then take advantage of 15-second mimics. Don't get scared away. I'm going to show you how easy it is to really make a 15-second mimic. As you can see in this calculator here, all you need is a mimic that has a base weight of 1.7 kg. Keep in mind, you can easily hatch mimics up to around 2.5 kg. And then you need a Nightmare age 100, and you need to use small, medium, and large toys, and it'll get to a 15-second cooldown, meaning every 15 seconds, it'll mimic the T-Rex. Now, that is not hard to obtain at all, but with the new HyperHunger mutation, it makes it even easier to get a 15-second mimic. This mimic was at a 30-second cooldown, and it's now 15 seconds with the HyperHunger. So you could probably use a 1.5 kg mimic, and as long as it's Nightmare with large, medium, and small toys, and you can substitute them around, you can use like a Grandmaster Sprinkler instead of a small toy. It's up to you. You can easily reach a 15-second cooldown. And for those who don't know, toys are no longer a hard item to obtain. You can see here I have farmed a ton over the last few days using the method from the video I posted earlier this week. Check it out if you haven't already. Super simple to farm a ton of toys. So really the only hurdle is getting the mimic itself, maybe turning it nightmare if you don't have a headless horseman. But once you have those two aspects, all you need to do is use level up lollipops or just wait until it gets to level 100 and use a few toys, and you'll have a 15-second mimic, which you can then use on your T-Rex to spread around 17 mutations every 15 seconds. And obviously, the more mimics you have, the more OP it'll become. So just really try to get your hands on as many decent-sized mimics as you can, make them age 100 and nightmare, and then use your toys or even some HyperHunger mutations to easily make 15-second mimics and spread hundreds of Christmas-related mutations really fast. That was like 40 mutations spread in the span of 15 seconds. So you can already tell using the mimics and T-Rexes are going to be incredibly broken for getting Christmas mutations. The only hurdle really is going to be getting the mimics themselves. But like I said, you don't need a high KG. All you need to do is get it nightmare in age 100 and then use toys and you'll be good. Now I spent like 20 minutes with my T-Rexes and my mimics, and it turned basically all my coconuts into Christmas mutated plants. So let's go ahead, use my Cape Buffaloes, spend like 10 minutes submitting back and forth and see what I am able to get and how many gifts I'm able to get. And I will be starting with absolutely 0 presents. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes. I still have a ton of Christmas mutations left that I could keep harvesting and spreading with my T-Rexes. But let's go ahead and check what I got. So in those 10 minutes, I gained a total of 99 presents. Just 600 gifts an hour or 14,000 gifts for every 24 hours that you do that. So you can easily farm thousands and probably tens of thousands of gifts before this event is over if you really put your mind to it. That being said, there's absolutely everything added in the new event, as well as the best methods to farm it for all of those presents. If you enjoyed this video, found it useful, or just want to stay updated on the best leaks, tips, and methods for Grow Garden, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I really love this update. I'm curious to hear your guys' opinion on this update as well. But I guess that is it for today's video. With that all being said, I hope you all have an amazing day and good luck gardening.